"I'll give you $5 million if you can heal me," the billionaire whispered from his wheelchair, mocking her. But when the maid's black daughter stepped forward, he realized she wasn't there to heal his legs. She was there to expose the wounds he'd been running from. Edward Hale had spent decades building a life no one could touch. Emotionally, physically, morally. He liked rooms that bowed when he entered. Voices trembled before addressing him. Even the bravest executives rehearsed their lines twice. Power wasn't a tool for him. It was oxygen. But the man who once commanded skyscrapers now rolled across marble floors in silence, carried not by authority, but by the hum of an electric wheelchair. After the accident, the world expected him to soften. They waited for humility, for gratitude that he survived, for tenderness to appear like an overdue apology. But Edward didn't soften. He sharpened. He fired people without blinking. He snapped at nurses. He refused therapy sessions. He banned pity the way some men ban profanity. His wealth remained untouched. His influence remained untouchable. But something inside him twisted into a shape even he couldn't recognize. Something bitter, rigid, suffocating. Tonight was the gala he himself funded. A charity event filled with high ceilings, shimmering chandeliers, and guests who lived off the illusion of perfection. It was supposed to be his return to the public eye. His proof that he was still king. But kings don't roll. Kings don't depend on brakes and motors. Every camera he passed felt like a spotlight on his weakness. Still, he arrived with a rigid smile, a steel gray suit, and the attitude of a man who dared the world to comment on the chair beneath him. He almost made it through the evening without incident. Almost. The waitstaff moved like ghosts, silent, efficient, invisible unless needed. Among them was Lydia, a black maid in her 40s with tired eyes and a posture shaped by years of lifting what life dropped on her shoulders. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't important. She was simply working because bills didn't care if you were tired, and grief didn't stop just because rent was due. Her daughter, Nia, had taken a temporary assistant role at the event. 8 years old, she was small but sharp, with her mother's kindness, and not her silence. Where Lydia had learned to swallow dignity to survive, Nia had learned to protect it like fire. Both mother and daughter stayed out of the guests' way, serving champagne and tidying up between speeches. Then it happened. A drunk guest stumbled into Lydia from behind. Her tray jerked, glasses tilted, and one slipped. It hit the floor near Edward's wheelchair. A burst of champagne. A soft crack. A tiny splash lands inches from his shoes. The music didn't stop, but the mood did. People glanced over, drawn to the subtle tension that spread like a cold ripple. Edward turned slowly toward her. His gaze lowered to the broken glass, then lifted to the trembling woman before him. "You," he said, voice quiet but cutting. "Come here." Lydia froze. Her hands shook around the empty tray. I'm so sorry, sir," she whispered, eyes lowered. Edward examined her the way he used to inspect failing stock reports. "You had one task," he said sharply. "One. And you couldn't even hold a tray steady?" "It was an accident," Lydia murmured. "Accidents," Edward said coldly, tapping the metal frame of his wheelchair, "are precisely what destroyed my life." Lydia swallowed hard. Her shoulders curled inward, as though bracing for a blow no one could see. People stared. Some with discomfort, some with curiosity, some with secret satisfaction. Power humiliating the powerless always attracted an audience. Nia saw her mother from across the room. Her heart dropped. She rushed forward, stepping between her mother and the billionaire without hesitation. Her voice didn't wobble. Her chin didn't dip. Her dignity stood tall, even when facing a man who thought he towered over everyone, even from a chair. "Sir," she said softly, "my mother apologized." Edward looked at her like she'd disrupted a sacred ritual. "And who are you?" he asked. "My mother's daughter," Nia answered. "And you don't have to talk to her like she's less than human." A pulse of shock moved through the hall. Edward's lips parted slightly, not in surprise, but in offense. "No one asked you to interfere," he said. No one has to, Nia replied. Respect doesn't need permission. A quiet gasp whispered through the guests. Edward leaned forward, anger tightening his jaw. You think I'm disrespecting her? I think you're taking your pain out on people who can't fight back, Nia said. Her mother tugged her sleeve, terrified. Nia, stop. Please. You'll lose your job. But Nia didn't step back. She stood firm because dignity meant nothing if you dropped it the moment someone powerful tried to crush it. Edward's voice dropped lower, colder. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? Yes, Nia said. A man who forgot he's still human. That hit him. It hit him deeper than she could have known. Guests held their breath. Edward's eyes narrowed, flashing with wounded pride. You think you know me? He said. No, Nia answered. But I know pain when I see it. His fingers tightened on the armrests. Nia took a slow step closer, not aggressive, just unafraid. You think your life ended when you lost the ability to walk, she said softly. But the truth is, you broke long before that. Your legs didn't make you powerful. Your attitude did. And now that it's gone, you're angry at everyone who reminds you of what you lost. The room felt smaller, heavier, like her words were stones dropped into a lake. No one dared disturb. Edward's voice trembled, not with fear, but with indignation. You think you can heal me with what? Philosophy? He mocked. Nia didn't blink. I'm not here to heal you, she said. I'm here to protect my mother. Edward laughed once. A bitter, hollow sound. Then he tilted forward, eyes burning with challenge. Fine. Let's make this interesting. The room leaned in. He smirked, a cruel twist of his mouth. I'll give you $5 million, he said, enunciating each word like a blade. If you can heal me. Gasped. Whispers. Stunned silence. It wasn't an offer. It was humiliation wrapped in currency. He used his wealth like a weapon, daring her to fail. Nia didn't even look at the money he tried to dangle. She looked at the man behind it. Sir, she said quietly, my mother raised me to believe healing isn't about fixing legs. It's about fixing what made you cruel in the first place. Someone in the back covered their mouth, stunned. Edward flinched. For the first time that night, his confidence wavered. And for a second, just a second, the man who ruled towers looked like a child who'd finally been confronted with his own reflection. Nia stepped closer, not to touch him, not to comfort him, but to make sure he heard her clearly. You don't need healing for your legs, she whispered. You need healing for your heart. Edward inhaled sharply, chest rising like something inside him cracked open. The room froze. He didn't know how to answer. He didn't know how to breathe. He didn't know how to break the silence she had wrapped around him with nothing but truth. Because for the first time since the accident, someone had spoken to him not with fear, but with clarity. And that clarity cut deeper than the crash ever had. The miracle hadn't happened yet. But the first fracture in his armor had occurred. And nothing, not money, not pride, not anger, could stop what was about to unfold next. Edward Hale's lips curled into a cruel, mocking smile. I'll give you $5 million if you can heal me, he said, the words dripping with scorn. His voice echoed in the hall, a mixture of amusement and arrogance. Do you hear me? $5 million. You, a girl barely 8, standing there like you're some hero. Heal me, and maybe, just maybe, you'll earn something worthy of your effort. The guests shifted uncomfortably, some smirking at the audacity of his challenge, others shrinking under the weight of the spectacle. Edward's eyes burned with a mix of challenge and condescension. But let's be clear, he continued, leaning forward in his wheelchair. Even if you try, no one will care about your words. You have no reputation. You are nothing here. Your mother is nothing. And you? You are standing on borrowed courage. Nia's gaze never wavered. She stepped closer, her presence commanding attention, not through volume but through sheer force of calm dignity. Sir, she said quietly, but every word struck like a hammer. I don't want your money. I don't care about your $5 million. I'm not here to heal your legs or to perform for your amusement. I'm here to restore what you've tried to take from my mother. And from yourself, dignity. A hush fell over the hall. The glittering chandeliers seemed to dim in the intensity of the moment. Edward blinked, startled. He wasn't used to being addressed with such fearlessness. He had built empires, toppled rivals, and crushed anyone who dared to question him. Yet here stood a girl, young, fragile in appearance, yet unyielding. You think you can lecture me? Edward barked, trying to mask the tremor in his voice with authority. You're not a doctor, not a therapist, not anyone who can fix what's broken. You are a maid's daughter, standing where you have no right. And you, he gestured at her with a trembling hand, have no leverage. You will fail. You will embarrass yourself. Nia inhaled slowly. Her voice remained steady, her chin raised. Sir, I warned you, she said. If I succeed, you will apologize. Not because I demand it, but because dignity requires it. And if you refuse, you will remain the man you have become. Bitter, broken, and alone. Edward's fingers gripped the arms of his wheelchair tighter. The audacity of this girl, this daughter of the woman he had just humiliated, ignited something he hadn't felt in years. Unease. For decades, power had shielded him. It had allowed him to act without consequence. But here, the illusion faltered. You threaten me? Edward's voice cracked slightly, a hint of vulnerability hidden beneath the bravado. You dare to suggest that I, Edward Hale, should apologize to her? I'm not threatening, sir, Nia replied. Her eyes glimmered with quiet fire. I'm asking you to see, to truly see. Your wealth didn't make you better than anyone else. Your legs, or lack thereof, didn't define your power. Your cruelty does. The room was still. Every guest felt the weight of her words. Whispers fluttered through the crowd, but no one dared speak. The billionaire, once untouchable, was being confronted not with fear, but with clarity, and it was devastating. Edward laughed, a sharp, hollow sound, as if to mock the idea that a young girl could expose him. You think you can heal me with morality? With words? I am broken because life broke me. And you, what can you possibly do? Nia took another step forward. Her voice softened, not in fear but in conviction. I don't need to fix your legs, sir. I need to remind you of what you've lost in the process of trying to gain everything else. Humanity, compassion, respect for those who serve you, love you, and endure your cruelty in silence. Edward's chest tightened. His lips parted, but no words came. He had faced courts, competitors, and betrayals, yet the piercing truth of this girl's words felt like nothing he had ever encountered. Nia's hand hovered over her heart, not as a gesture of submission, but as a symbol of strength. God, she whispered softly, do a miracle, not for me, but for the dignity of those who have been crushed. Let him see himself. The room shifted. Guests exchanged glances, sensing something extraordinary, something that transcended wealth, status, and fear. Edward's chair trembled slightly. He frowned, disbelief clouding his features. Then it happened. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, his legs stirred. A twitch, a shiver, a tremor that no one expected. He looked down, panic and awe mingling in his eyes. Inch by inch, the impossible unfolded. His legs, once dormant, bore weight, the metal frame of his wheelchair groaning under the shift. Impossible, Edward muttered under his breath, but his voice was tinged with wonder. His hands clutched the armrests as if preparing for a fall, yet the miracle continued. Nia stepped closer, her gaze unwavering, as Edward slowly rose to his feet. The room erupted in stunned whispers, but she held the moment sacred. This was not about applause, not about recognition. It was about what had been unseen. Courage, dignity, and the human capacity to change. Edward's eyes scanned the hall, finally landing on Nia. The arrogance and mockery were gone, replaced by a fragile, raw awareness of self. He straightened his posture, feeling the weight of his own humanity pressing down for the first time in years. You did this? He whispered, disbelief coloring his voice. How? Nia's lips curved into a small, resolute smile. Not me, sir. You did this. I only reminded you of who you are beneath the walls of pride and fear. This, she gestured to his legs, to the room, to the audience. This is your moment to see clearly, and to make right what you've done wrong. The crowd was silent, watching the billionaire, once untouchable, now standing vulnerable and humbled. Some gasped, some trembled, some dared not breathe. Edward's eyes, once cold and commanding, glistened with unshed tears. His voice, hoarse and trembling, broke the long silence. I apologize. To your mother. To you. To anyone I've ever humiliated with my wealth, my power, or my cruelty. I was wrong. The words hung in the air like a fragile truce between the past and the present. Nia nodded once, a small gesture of acknowledgement. She had not sought the $5 million. That was never the point. She had sought justice, humanity, and the recognition of dignity, and she had won. Edward Hale, the man who had once commanded towers and trembled boardrooms, now faced a new reality. Power was not measured in money or fear, but in respect and moral courage. And tonight, he had been taught a lesson that no fortune could buy. Nia stepped back, her eyes meeting her mother's across the room. Lydia's face was a mixture of awe and pride. The daughter had not only protected her, she had elevated them both, asserting that dignity cannot be purchased, borrowed, or silenced. It must be defended, even in the face of the most terrifying authority. Edward exhaled slowly, finally allowing himself to feel the full weight of the evening. His legs held him steady, but more importantly, his heart had begun to adjust, to soften, to understand. And though the crowd was still silent, a collective sense of wonder filled the room as one clapped. No one cheered. This was bigger than applause. This was a transformation witnessed in real time, a miracle of human dignity, courage, and moral truth. Nia turned away, walking toward the exit with a quiet confidence, leaving Edward Hale to confront the man he had been, and to decide the man he would become. He remained standing, the weight of her words settling deep into his chest. And for the first time in decades, Edward Hale understood that real power had nothing to do with towers, money, or fear. It had everything to do with respect, truth, and the courage to face oneself. And in that moment, the miracle was complete, not in the lifting of a body, but in the elevation of a soul.